In Canada, we're taught that our rights are sacred, that our freedoms of conscience, of speech, of peaceful protest are not given lightly. They were bought by the blood of Canadians, of veterans, of Allied soldiers who died in foreign fields so we could live free at home. And yet, in the last 10 years under the Liberal government, those freedoms have been tested, and in some cases, taken. Now, before we go any further, I want to take a moment to address something. The most fundamental pillar of our democracy is the freedom of expression. You can agree with the party and its policies, or you can disagree. In fact, disagreement and debate are healthy for a democracy. That's why you'll never hear a leader of the party call for censorship, cancel culture, or any other attack on the freedom of speech. So if there are those who disagree with my words today, I respect your right to do so and to make your voice heard. Indeed, that is what makes Canada such a great country. Let's start with unchecked power. The Emergencies Act, it happened here in Canada in 2022. Our own government invoked the Emergencies Act to crush the Freedom Convoy protests in Ottawa. The first time in our history this extreme law was ever used. The Emergencies Act gave government unprecedented powers to crack down on your freedoms. Peaceful protesters had their bank accounts frozen without due process. Even Canadians who didn't participate in the protests had their lives upended because of the vague and overbroad nature of the order. For example, a man in Calgary was prevented from leaving the country to attend his terminally ill father's funeral in Ireland. A young woman in Toronto was prevented from boarding a flight to visit her dying grandmother. A veteran in Saskatchewan couldn't travel to Ottawa to visit his wife who had just had brain surgery. All because they may have donated to a political cause. For months, hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations to a crowdfunding platform were frozen. Hundreds of thousands of dollars that people gave to help truckers, their money was taken from them. Imagine for a second being denied access to your own funds, being denied the ability to provide for your family. That's what the Liberal government did. And in 2024, the federal court ruled that invoking the Emergencies Act was unjustified and unconstitutional. A stunning rebuke, but one that came far too late. No one in the Liberal government was punished. Not a single cabinet minister resigned. Not a single right was restored by those in power. When leaders abuse their power, when they trample on the rights of citizens, they should be held accountable. If Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh thought they were right in taking your freedoms away, let them prove it. Let them win back your trust. Let them win back your vote. Otherwise, they should be sent home. So I want to be clear, the Emergencies Act was wrong. Invoking the never-before-used Emergency Act to crack down on an anti-government protest sends a message to every Canadian that we are no longer free to peacefully express our views. And we know there are more limits to our freedoms that the Liberals would like to impose. A carbon tax on your food, taxpayers funding political parties, a wealth tax, a luxury tax, a jet fuel tax, a vacant luxury apartment tax, a plastic bag tax, a sugar tax. They want to tax everything. More taxes and less freedom. That's not the way forward for Canada. Which brings me to part 2, coercion over consent. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Canadians were told they had a choice. But for hundreds of thousands of federal employees, that choice was an illusion. Choose the shot, or lose your job. Nurses, RCMP officers, military members, civil servants. Many were terminated or suspended without pay simply for exercising their bodily autonomy. Whether you supported the vaccine or not, coercion is not consent. These brave men and women dedicated their lives to serving others. They put themselves on the line to keep us safe. And for what? For having made an important personal decision about medical treatment. They were fired, forced into unemployment, unable to put food on the table for their families. And those who needed medical exemptions were often denied. Fired. RCMP officers were told that they had to get the shot, but also that they couldn't talk about it. Doctors, nurses, and other healthcare workers were fired without just cause. Military members were told they could either comply with the orders or leave the armed forces. And still to this day, unvaccinated members of the Canadian Armed Forces remain barred from deployment overseas. There are hundreds of stories of individual courage and sacrifice during the pandemic. But there are also stories of medical discrimination and mistreatment. It was wrong then, and it's wrong now. We were told this was science, but later, even Canada's own health officials admitted the measures went too far. Still no apology, no reinstatement, no accountability. Part 3. Corruption without consequence. And what about the repeated scandals and ethics violations? SNC Lavalin. Trudeau was found guilty of trying to interfere with a criminal prosecution. We Charity scandal. His family accepted hundreds of thousands from a charity awarded a near billion-dollar contract. Aga Khan vacations. Blackface incidents. Broken electoral reform promises. 3 times Trudeau was found in violation of Canada's ethics laws. No criminal charges, no resignations, just press conferences. When you're paying attention, Canadians can forgive. But forgiveness is not the same as forgetting, and it does not erase the need for accountability. When someone in a position of power abuses that power, when someone entrusted with our freedoms takes them away, we must hold them to account. Which brings me to part 4. Accountability is not vengeance. It's justice. Let us be clear, this is not a call for revenge. We can forgive. But forgiveness is not the same as forgetting, and it does not erase the need for accountability. If no court, no commission, and no political insider was willing to punish these actions, then we the people must. At the ballot box. Under the Liberals and Trudeau's leadership, our country is less free, less prosperous, and less secure. They won't apologize for abusing our rights. They won't admit they're wrong. They won't allow our voices to be heard. So then we the people must make the Liberals listen. And finally, part 5, a vote for accountability. On April 28th, Canadians will decide whether a decade of deception, overreach, and injustice can go unanswered. No more apologies without change. No more excuses for eroding freedoms. This election is about accountability. It's about sending a message that we remember, that we won't be fooled again, that we demand better from our leaders. Because if we don't hold the Liberals to account, then what hope is there for anyone else? Remember all those who fought and died to bring us freedom. Remember all those who marched and protested to expand our liberties. Remember all those who worked tirelessly to defend our democracy. Are we really going to throw it all away for the sake of political expediency? Are we really going to abandon the hard-won progress of generations past? Are we really going to accept another 5 years of the Liberals? No, we're not. Not while there's breath in our bodies, not while there's strength in our arms, not while there's hope in our hearts. Because we are Canadians, and on April 28th, we will vote. Although we forgave the Liberals for what they've done, they shall not go unpunished. We will not vote for the Liberals this election for violating our rights. We will vote for accountability. If you're watching this and you've been touched by any of the stories we've shared today, if you've had enough of the corruption and the lies and the broken promises, then please share your story. Lest we forget,